obelisks were a sign of the Egyptian sun god Ra, and there are some Egyptologists who are studying it, and they believe that the obelisks represent some astronomical phenomenon.
I'm on fire! Gosh, I'm on fire! Oh my gosh! Put it out! Heck, roll! Duck and roll!
Ra is angry with you. Hi, and welcome back to another episode of HiDefHistory. I'm so glad that you chose to join us here at Infinite Lives as we continue looking at the world of ancient Egypt. Today we're going to be visiting the port city of Alexandria and seeing some of the sights and sounds and definitely not smells of what life was really like 2,000 years ago. So Donna's going to be on the controls today, and she's going to start us off from top of a small hillside temple just outside of Alexandria.
Just click in here. I will try not to get any innocent civilians eaten by crocodiles this time.
No promises.
Okay. Why is it not going?
Probably because you're pressing the wrong button.
Oh.
And circle.
Oh my gosh. I'm like, oh, look at us.
Okay, so right in the head of us in the distance is the city of Alexandria. You'll notice there's a couple buildings that we're going to be taking a look at. And if you want to rotate to your right, there's Lake Mariotis, which we visited in last week's episodes, and further in the south, ta-da! What most people think of when they think of ancient Egypt. There's the pyramids, the Great Pyramids at Giza, Egypt, to the south of us along the Nile.
The world's prettiest graveyards.
Okay, so Bayek right here, he is perched on top of an Egyptian obelisk, which is on a small temple here on the hillside. Now, the Egyptians, they loved obelisks. They built them outside of all of their temples, and not only did they build them outside of the temples. The other people who came to and especially the ones who conquered Egypt, they would steal the obelisks and take them all over the world.
Wait, they'd steal these giant obelisks?
Yes. Now, the fun thing about these is that most of these ancient Egyptian obelisks are monolithic, which is just a fun word that means one big stone. That's what it is. Uh-huh. So it is carved out of one giant stone. And there's actually, at a quarry in Egypt, what they call the unfinished obelisk. And it's an obelisk that was partially carved out of the rock and then was never finished. Probably because of a defect that was in there. I want to run back up to that temple though, dear.
Oh, sure. I just was getting a better view of the obelisk and all its
majesty. The
obelisks
in all its glory. Now, that's unusual. Most of the obelisks you see in ancient Egypt come in pairs that would be outside of the temple, but this one, being a much smaller little shrine area on top of this hill, only appears to have one from the game. Now, obelisks were a sign of the Egyptian sun god Ra, and there are some Egyptologists who are studying it, and they believe that the obelisks represent some astronomical phenomenon.
I'm on fire! Gosh, I'm on fire! Oh my gosh! Put it out! Heck, roll! Duck and roll!
Ra is angry with you. What have you done?
Sorry, I didn't realize it would be quite so realistic. I'm done now.
So just like that, so the obelisks represent almost like a frozen ray of sun that was coming down on them, and they're actually, if you are looking in sort of the natural world around you, there's two phenomena that you can see in the sky. One known as the zodiac lights, and the other is sun pillars, which are actual observable events in the sky that cause basically pillars of light to form in the dusk, mixed twilight and dusk, in the dusk area or at dawn, where you can see these occur. And the ancient Egyptians might have used these obelisks as kind of like a symbolism of that. And also, each one is topped off with a pyramid shape called the pyramidion, which represents in sort of Egyptian creation myths. It's called the Ben stone. And essentially what that is that out of the mythical waters that existed before land was created, the Ben Ben stone is what rose out of the waters, and the god descended onto that stone and created life from there. So there's a lot of sort of origins of life in here, the sun god symbolism, as well as actual fire. So
as well as actual fire that will
too
most
close.
definitely light you a flame.
All right, so if we're ready, we can... So I was talking a little bit about how these are all over the world, too. You can find Egyptian obelisks all over the place. If you want to, we can start heading down. So here's this one. There he is.
Hey, Ra. What's up?
That actually...
Is that Ra? The face looks wrong.
Definitely not Ra. Now, Ra would have been at multiple different gods' temples because sort of the leader of the Egyptian pantheon. He would have been there.
So he's like their Zeus.
Yeah, similar, but... Horus is also kind of like their Zeus. So there's some differences.
Egyptian mythology is confusing.
Yes, they are.
All right, where am I going? To this city over here?
Yep, the big giant city. That's Alexandria.
Ooh, can I climb that temple?
Oh yeah, we're going to go all over the place there. So one of these things that you're looking at in obelisks, and you can go visit them all over the world. Rome, the Roman Empire, loved obelisks. They took them back home with them often. Put them all over Rome. There's one in Istanbul today that's still standing. Herod the Great took one because he copied what the Romans did. He took one and stuck it in the town of Caesarea in modern day Israel. There's one in Paris. There's one in London. There's one in New York. There's obelisks are used sort of all over the place and just have a lot of kind of interesting enduring symbolism of I don't know, monumental value almost. Like, for any reason, people like building large, pointy objects. Draw your own conclusion. In America, we are not any... we are also a big part of this. If you ever visited the capital of the U.S. down in Washington, D.C., you might see one of the largest obelisks in the world, George Washington's monument down there at the end of the National Mall. That's a recreation of Egyptian obelisks. So... Fun fact, ancient Egypt influenced American architecture as well. So we're scaling the city because we don't feel like walking through gates. Gates are made for lesser people.
They are. They're not made for people who can climb like this.
Probably the most famous Egyptian obelisk left in the world is in St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican of Rome. Now, when St. Peter's Basilica was being built, the Pope wanted the obelisk placed right nave. But that's a difficult thing. The obelisks tend to be about 80 to 100 feet tall, weigh several hundred tons, and are usually one giant stone. So as you can imagine, the manpower necessary to move and relocate stuff like that is immense. However, a man by the name of Dominic Fontana, who was the assistant to the architect building St. Peter's Basilica, he had a scale replica model he built of the obelisk and a crane that he designed and then showed the Pope how he could use his machine to easily move and set the obelisk in place. And the Pope was so impressed with his model that he appointed him right away and said, "You go put my obelisk where you want it to be." And so Dominic did do that, and was a pretty incredible feat of engineering to move it all in one place. And actually, though, he's kind of definitely a pragmatist, because at least one source claims that he had a bunch of relay horses set up so that if something happened to the obelisk while he was placing it in front of St. Peter's Basilica and it fell or broke or the Pope wasn't happy, he had an escape route planned to run out of the city as fast as he could. Luckily, though, it went over pretty darn well.
Wait, am I going to that giant temple?
You are going to the temple.
All right, I ran into a snag.
All right, yeah. So we're looking for.
This is another river.
This is another river. Yeah. So
too many of these around here.
It's not really a river, though, love. It's the ocean. So we're going to be looking for. Why don't you get to a high point so I can point you in the right direction?
No, I can see it. It's right over there.
No, it's not. Yeah, see right there in the background.
That's
it? See the background? Real far. There's like smoke coming out of it.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it?
Not the one with the round top.
No, the one behind it. Yeah,
okay.
I know. I got to get across over here. It's fine.
Hey, you're good. You got this.
I got it.
You're good. We're so on top of it.
Ooh, hello.
That's a lot of classical statuary in your
Hello.
face. I would go the other way if I were you.
You wouldn't go this way?
Yeah, because you have to go. It's a bridge over like the western side of the city that gets you
I can't just go across from here if I climb these buildings?
You might end up having to go back the way you came.
Let's see what it looks like from up here.
While she's going there, and I hope you can enjoy some of the sights and sounds of Alexandria being recreated here. Yeah, once you get to the street, you're gonna have to hang left. And they did a really quite amazing job of attempting to rebuild this city. Now, Alexandria was founded in 331 BC.
Oh, I gotta use that right there.
Yep, by Alexander the Great, the Greek monarch who went on to conquer most of the Middle Eastern world, fighting all the way from Greece into Persia and ending up winning, a series of battles in India, creating an empire the world had really never seen before, and has also served as a model and an inspiration for leaders and generals throughout history, from the Roman Empire all the way up to the figures like Napoleon and Bonaparte and of course, names escape me now that I'm sitting here thinking about it.
He was also a bit of a megalomaniac.
Well, you know what? You conquer the known world, and you can call yourself the son of a god, too. So
and name a whole bunch of cities after yourself?
That
just makes you seem creepy.
Although he conquered the city in Egypt. There was a previous Egyptian settlement here beforehand, and he conquered it, renamed it Alexandria, and then left. He never did actually make it back to the city and use his name. Now, this was for almost a millennium, almost 1,000 years. Alexandria was the capital of Egypt for the
I have been here before.
Greek owners. No, you are going
I'm trying to get over there. You know what? We're just gonna swim.
It's probably best at this point just to swim over there.
All right.
I think I might have misdirected you a little bit. That's the bridge you were looking for.
See, so really, it's all your fault.
Yeah, that's pretty much the lesson you can take here.
It's fine. Bayek is an excellent swimmer. Hey.
Maybe he'll let you on his boat.
No, last time I did that, someone got eaten.
This place is heavily guarded.
Just be careful. Soldiers don't like it when you're in these areas.
I'm just swimming, man. Back off!
It's just a brief morning swim. It's good for the body. Alexandria was known as an intellectual and cultural center of the world. It was renowned for its buildings, for its learning, for the culture that was here. One of the interesting things about it is also one of the largest Jewish communities in the ancient world as well. So if you want to think about Alexandria, it basically occurs in 3 different parts. The Egyptian part of town, the Greek part of town, and the Jewish part of town. And the Ptolemaic pharaohs actually worked really hard to try and make sure that the 3 sort of ethnicities weren't really able to intermix a whole lot.
Like genetically or just in general?
Well, genetically, socially, just, kept them in their own. So there's an Egyptian quarter, a Greek quarter, and a Jewish quarter in the city of Alexandria. So the first Ptolemy he's known as Ptolemy the First Soter, which is also Ptolemy the Savior, was an Egyptian, or not Egyptian, he was a Macedonian in north of Greece, general who fought with Alexander the Great, was one of his closest friends from childhood, and fought with Alexander from the very beginning up until his death in India. And when Alexander died, Egypt was sort of given to him as the inheritance. So, he ended up reigning. He had a reign of almost 40 years after the death of Alexander, in which he fought the other Hellenistic kingdoms that split off from the Alexandrian Empire, and he left Egypt pretty solid, wealthy, respected, powerful, and the line of Ptolemaic pharaohs who descended from him may sort of maintain that power until the arrival of the Romans on the scene, pretty much right at the time. So this is sort of the end of the Ptolemaic era and the beginning of the Roman that we find Bayek coming into place here. So as we are beginning to establish here, this is the Pharos of Alexandria. Pharos is the Greek word for lighthouse. Now, the lighthouse of Alexandria is one of the 7 ancient wonders of the world. You can't really see it today. It's gone. It disappeared. Because ancient things, even when they're, magnificent structures like this, they get broken. Just so you know, the soldiers here won't like it if they see you.
Oh, I'm sure they won't.
See? Like that.
Oh, nope.
Now,
no one here.
The Pharos of
ignore me.
Alexandria is about 100 meters tall, which translates for those parts of the world that use it to about 330 feet. It's one of the tallest man-made structures in the world at the time it was built, and really for centuries afterwards. It was built between 280 and 247 BC, so it took about 35 years to build itself. Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
There you go.
Thank goodness there was a pile. I knew that was there, obviously.
Conveniently. Donna's trying to get to the top of it.
I'll get there.
Oh yeah, you're going to totally get there. Now, the Pharos of the lighthouse was eventually destroyed over the course of time. There were several earthquakes that happened.
Spelunking?
No, not spelunking.
I know I'm not spelunking. I'm trying to confuse the guard, Kevin.
That
way,
spelunking?
he'll be like, there's no caves here. And then he'll be confused.
Oh, he asked what you were doing.
Yeah, he asked me what I was doing. I was like, I'm clearly spelunking. You can obviously tell. It's how I handle all adverse situations. So I pretend to be spelunking.
You want to get in that window.
Okay. And jump back.
So what we're looking at here
Nope,
as he's climbing... damaged by earthquakes several different times, so that it was basically a ruin by the 15th century. The Islamic rulers of Egypt in the 15th century used what was left of the blocks to build the citadel of Qaitbay, which you can actually go visit today. So the limestone that was still, you don't want to, he just, it happens,
It's fine. I'm just
You gotta
cleaning
go.
up.
You gotta go up.
Oh, I gotta go up?
Yeah, you gotta go up. So what we're looking at here is Qaitbay you can go visit it in Alexandria today, and the citadel of Qaitbay is there, and the stones that they used to build it are the same ones left here. Most of the lighthouse today is underwater. Just sort of the movement of land over time has left it in the harbor of Alexandria now. It's been designated by UNESCO as one of the world cultural heritage sites to kind of protect it from mistreatment. So it is a lighthouse. The biggest function of it is to guide ships into the harbor by night and by day, so that they don't run into the island here. You can't climb over those spikes. You have to go in the window.
Okay.
And don't climb into the fire.
Ah, yes. Well, I actually learned that lesson earlier today.
So what they used during the day is they had a polished bronze mirror on top of it that they could reflect sunlight to sort of help make sure that people knew what was here. And then at night they would light a fire to accomplish sort of the same purpose. And you can imagine, a fire 300 feet up in the air was pretty easily seen by most people.
Look at all this stuff.
Yep. Now, one of the things about this too is that so the inspiration too for here, if you want to go and look it up, there's a German architect by the name of Hermann Schlemm, who wrote sort of a what happened to the lighthouse kind of thing, and he drew drawings based on people's accounts of what it looked like. And I'm not saying that they sort of copied his work and that's how this came about, but there are definitely some striking similarities between the model of the lighthouse we see in game and some of the drawings, especially the one from 1909 that he wrote.
Oh!
Yeah.
That was fire.
Ear burning.
That was fire.
Alexandria is on fire.
Oh God, put it out.
See if
Put it
you
out.
can
Oh my gosh, I really did some damage.
Why don't you just fast travel to the top of it, and then we can show people Alexandria.
Well, how do I get
from top?
Okay, all right.
Go to map and just fast travel. Now we can see the influence of
Just click the top of it.
There should be a fast travel thing
There's
there.
no button there.
There should be one.
Well, there isn't.
There was. Maybe you can't do it from where you're at. You're too close, Donna. You're too close.
Okay, well, if I can't climb up the spikes, how do I get up?
Get in the window.
Am I coming up? Oh my gosh, look how much damage that did to the outside of it.
I know.
What was that full of? Was it full of, like, oil or something?
It might have been full of Greek fire.
Greek fire.
The other purpose...
I always forget about Greek fire.
There's stairs right there.
Oh, jeez.
The other purpose of the lighthouse was also to serve as a fortress. Because of the narrowness of the entrance to the harbor in Alexandria, anybody who controlled the fortress of the lighthouse also controlled entrance into and out of the harbor. So a lot of strategic value in it as well, which is why when Julius Caesar invaded Alexandria, he, while the Greeks and Egyptians were distracted by fighting in the city, he landed part of his army on this island to seize control, because he's like, aha, it's over on the other side here. So there's the fire that would have lit it during the nighttime.
What do you want me to? You don't want me to climb all the way to the top?
No, you can if you want. There's a statue up top. Was a statue. There's conflicting evidence. It's either Zeus or Poseidon. I think the gamers here, they went with
That's Hades.
that's definitely not Hades.
No, it's not. Well, why does he have Cerberus there?
I'm not sure.
Poseidon, I guess. Maybe.
It looks like Jesus.
But he only has a two-pronged trident.
Yeah. Oh.
So he's got a two-pronged trident.
A three-headed dog.
And the three-headed dog that guards the gates of hell.
Yeah.
You do you, man.
That's right. You enjoy this one. All right, so give it out. We're going to look out over there.
Oh,
City.
jeez.
You'll see the influence of the shape of this building. It's a square, and then an octagon, and then the circular tower that Donna's climbing on up top. And a lot of early Egyptian Islamic mosques, when they built the minarets, they would copy sort of that style, square at the bottom, octagon in the middle, and a circle on top.
Is this where you want me to go?
And also, another George Washington and Egyptian reference, the Masonic National Memorial for George Washington in Alexandria, Virginia. Ah, another Alexandria. They built the memorial that they built for him is in the same shape as the lighthouse of Alexandria would have been. So if you want to climb out here, Donna, to up top here, roll around, keep going, you'll see the eagle sign right there.
Where?
Right to your left.
I don't see any eagles.
It's a little black square. Rotate to the right. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. See? Right there.
Oh, you mean like in the game, not
Yes,
like on the...
in the game.
Oh, I get it now. I thought
There
you
it
meant there was
is.
like an eagle statue on the actual thing. All right.
And there it is. So
I'm
give
sorry.
it-
Is he going to survive jumping
No,
off
he just
this?
jumps down to the bottom of the octagon.
Oh,
All right, so don't...
Sorry.
That was where I was going to the video.
Instead, we're going to come over here and see this thing.
It could
Which
be
is-
it's a statue of Nike. Actually, this is an excellent example of the Hellenistic culture of Alexandria. This is sort of reminiscent of a famous statue called Nike at Samothrace. And basically, Nike was the Greek goddess of victory. And so you have here on the corner sort of victory standing triumphant. Also kind of helps sort of portray this idea of Alexandria as, even though it's in Egypt, is very much a Greek city. And over the 3 centuries of Greek rule, from 323 BC to about 30 BC or so, we see the Greeks are dominant culturally speaking, but there's also a lot of interesting sort of Egyptian-Greek hybrids that pop up in the culture at this time.
Well, look, we got this beautiful view.
And there's a statue on each corner, probably might even be a representation of the different winds as well. So, all right, so we're going to wrap up High Def History there. We've only begun to look at some of the things Alexandria has to offer. Hope you join us next time as we continue exploring the other monuments in Alexandria. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Make sure to like, share, leave a comment, and always subscribe so we can bring you more High Def History.